Hey, Shawna, how are you today?
Hi, Michelle. I'm awesome. Great to be here.
I am so glad to see you again because this is our take two of the interview, realizing that we had recorded incorrectly, but that's okay.
Yeah, let's
Part
this
of
can get
life.
bigger and better.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm so excited for Shawna to be here today because we're going to talk about a very hot topic. And the cool thing about re-recording is that it's timely because now we are in season for not only just tennis, but we know the hot topic is pickleball. Except
Exploding.
it's totally exploding, and you're the perfect person to be anybody to coach, first of all, get coached by, but also to talk about it. So, Shawna and I are lucky to have known each other, not only because she coached me in tennis, but also she coached all three of my girls in tennis. And Shawna owns a tennis academy called SBW Coaching. And more recently was actually acquired by Swimply, which is a company that focuses on having swimming pools available. But now she's actually part of Swimply Rackets. She started this whole other division for them. And I am so excited to have her here, not only because it's popular, but she's a wealth of knowledge as far as it goes, as far as the tennis industry goes, right?
Yeah, thank you. Just little minor correction. We're calling it now, it's changed. We're calling it Swimply Courts because we have
Okay.
rackets, which is tennis, and we realized that pickleball people do not respond to rackets. So we have Swimply Courts, which is rackets for tennis and paddles for pickle.
Ah, good for us to know. I'm glad to hear that. Because actually, I remember when we talked about it the last time, I remember thinking the exact same thing. But yes, we need to expand with what the concepts are that are out there, correct?
Yes. So we have the paddles going blowing up in one direction and the rackets steadily, moving along.
Maintaining their market share.
Maintaining. Yes.
Exactly. So, what I'd love to do is start out by you actually talking a little bit about your experience as a tennis pro. But not only that, just kind of taking us way back. Because when did your love of tennis start? And then how did it lead into you basically having this brilliant idea based upon a deficit for you, right? And it expanding and exploding, frankly. And I remember being a part of it, which is super cool.
You were there.
I was
Yeah,
there
so
experiencing the lows.
my whole life, so my dad played, semi-professional tennis, played in college. I started playing when I was 7, 8 years old, saw it on TV, absolutely loved it, said, I want to do that. And kind of from that day on, I was like tunnel vision kid. Um,
Mm.
so I was very focused from a really young age, traveled, played tournaments, grew up in Southern California where, with Serena and Venus and all these other people who went pro from our age divisions. It was actually crazy to see that, all the top people continued on to play professional tennis from
Mm.
that time period. And played, in college, was an All-American in doubles, and went on to play professional events after that. And, realized that I really wasn't going to be able to make the money that I needed to live
Mhm.
the life that I wanted to live
Los
playing,
Angeles lifestyle.
yes, playing doubles tennis, even though I loved it. There's a harsh reality to that situation.
Yep.
And I basically was lucky enough to have a family who supported me and gave me enough money to start this career. And my dad said to me, I'll never forget, he said, I said, how will I know, how long I can play or whatever? He goes, well, if the money runs out, you'll know.
Well, he's not wrong, as we know, right? It's not
He's
the
not,
unlimited funding.
he's not wrong. So, basically, here's a chunk of money. Go give it your best shot. We support your dream. And if that's not sustainable, you will know. And I found out that I was done
Mm.
and came back to LA not having any idea what I was going to do with myself.
Wait, where were you then if you came back to LA?
I was just traveling around,
Yeah.
basically, kind of nomadic lifestyle.
It's like the circuit, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you just play different tournaments and,
yeah,
hopefully you hit it. right?
Exactly. I was in Europe most of the time. You know, you go to different places where you can get in a bunch of tournaments, you know, without traveling too much. So in Europe most of the time, and then, you know, came back here, kind of set myself up, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Nothing." And they said, "We need a coach over at the Riviera for this high performance, you know, level." And I had never even thought of myself as a coach at all.
That's so interesting.
Never. Like I've
Because
never.
I wouldn't say patience is the greatest asset.
It is. It is for sure, for sure. And I said, no, no, I'm not doing that. And you know, I just got back. I put my rackets in a closet. I'm done. Like this chapter is closed.
Mhm.
You know, cut to a couple weeks later, they called me again. Hey, I think you should come up and give this a try. I think you'd like it. We have some really good players, and they did. I think you'd have fun. I said, I don't know. You know, it took some arm
Well, a
twisting.
lot of pros play there too, like, when they come into town, right? I remember I used to see Pete Sampras there and
Yeah, a lot of them do, but at the time it was a lot of, at the time they had a lot of really big up and coming juniors that were going to go on to play at big, you know, D1
yeah.
schools. So I did. I went and I gave it a try, and I realized quickly that I was pretty good at it.
Mm.
You know, a lot of those top kids were asking me to work with them, and it's like, what is going on here? And I kind of just started saying yes to people. I don't know why. Maybe it was just that's who I am.
Uh-huh.
Always been kind of a yes person. And I just started saying yes, saying yes, saying yes. And the next thing I knew, it was like I had zero time working with all these people. Um, Quickly realized that I, again, back to the money, needed to leave there because I
But
was
it's important to know, like it's a part of knowing yourself and going back to values, because I was talking about values. It's something that you knew that you wanted a certain lifestyle.
right,
And so
right.
you're figuring out how to attain that.
Right. So I realized quickly that staying there at the Riviera wasn't going to work for me. And, you know, quickly thought, how am I going to get out of here? Because I really need to make a lot more money to make this work for me, sustainable. So just at that moment, I'm like, well, you know, I'm living in Santa Monica at the time. You know, I said, well, these people all live in Santa Monica. So I'm going to go find a backyard court in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
So that should work. Then I can,
Yeah.
you know, do my own thing. And I went, I wrote a letter. I put, you know, probably 150 notes in mailboxes all
So
over.
interesting, because that served you again then.
It did.
It's that same tenacity that you
Yeah,
have.
it did. I think it never goes away. I think once that's ingrained in you, that's who you are, and you just do what it takes to get what you want. You know,
Mhm.
that's just how it is. I don't, you know, I don't know any other way. So
Mhm.
funny enough, I had a response from a woman who was in her late 70s at the time. She really wanted her grandkids to learn tennis. She was right on San Vicente in this gorgeous house, gorgeous tennis court. And she goes, this is a great situation. I said, you can use my court if you teach my grandkids. And I went, oh, okay. I think this could work. This is the perfect, it was, couldn't have been a better location. Um,
Mhm.
and really got close with their family and started my business there. And over time, you know, was, like I said, was always a yes person, worked long, long days, met a lot of great people, built a network, and was at that court for about 10 years until she decided to sell the house eventually. And then the, you know, the situation was no longer workable,
Available.
available. Exactly. But during that time, I learned a lot. I met my husband, and he thought I was a lunatic for working the amount of time that I would work. And he actually said to me, he goes, you know, what are you doing? You got to scale down. And I said, no, I want to make more money. I don't want to scale down. I want to be smarter.
Mm.
You know, and over time too, you know, your body starts to break down, to grind.
And you're
Um,
in the sun all day.
you're in the
Yeah.
sun, you know, all of these factors. And, you know, I really thought about it, and I said, you know, as much as I love all these people, there's other great people that could work with these people. And I think they'd be just as happy. So I did it again. I went out, put 100, you know, letters in mailboxes. This time I had a bit more of a base of a clientele that had a bigger network. So I was able to kind of use that more, but just tried to find more courts and get more coaches. And then I realized, the more courts, the more coaches, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So we expanded, I hired people, we got more courts, and, we've kind of been with the ebbs and flows for the last, 18 years of more courts, more people.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds great.
Isn't that crazy? Because I think I've known you for maybe 20, right? Or 19.
About that.
That's so interesting because, of course, from my perception, because you were so seasoned, I thought that you had been doing it for like 25 years or something. I don't know. And of course, we were just so eager to work with you. I remember I was like, I don't care. I want to work with Shawna, like, because you were such the sought after pro in the area,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that people thought, oh, this is so easy. Look, they're, hiring people. This business is growing. Look at SBW tennis. Like, it was tough. I want to kind of get into the hardships.
Yeah, for sure. I want to hear about business.
Lots of tears. You can't control a homeowner,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes situations are really great, and then they turn and they're not so great, and then you're stuck. For example, what happened on San Vicente, she had gotten older. I'd been there for 10 years. I met her in her late 70s. She's now almost 90, and the property was too big. And so she sold it. And as much as you hope to keep that going, it's not always possible.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose courts, you gain courts. It's very stressful because I have people that are living so close that, if that's in their schedule, that's
exactly,
and it's
about
hard.
Convenience. It's about convenience. Which actually goes into your business idea, So is that how because things were so difficult in trying to find courts and help people come to different locations, and you kept losing courts and gaining courts? And I'm actually thinking about it in relevance to like people, like meaning like you're dealing with 3 different constituents. So it's almost like you're losing the location, you're losing the homeowner, which is basically your property manager, so to speak, right? And then you could lose clients if you lose the location. So it's this constant puzzle of trying to place people in the right place. And right. I think the thing is that's so interesting is I never thought about it in terms of like the same thing that people go through when they hire people at companies. So people leave, then you have to find somebody else to replace it. It's the missing puzzle piece constantly.
And then you have clients, wonderful people, AKA Michelle, who lives in a certain place and goes, oh, we really want to do tennis, but we really want to do it here.
Yes.
And your brain is spinning because you have an arrangement, right? And it's like, I really want you to do it there, Michelle. I'm really trying, but the homeowner is also dictating the amount of time that I have, so it's not like
it's available, they're dictating it.
Correct. So it's like, I'd love to do that, but I could say, hey, I know you really want to do this here, but I can see you here at this other location. And then it's, up to the client. What, do I want to drive, 10 extra minutes, or am I just really about, this is it?
It's like we've talked about before. You can get a court in Beverly Hills, but I'm not driving there at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
And you'll be lucky if I drive there on the weekend. So,
right.
I think that
understandable.
So I can remember back in this time frame, this was like probably 7 years ago, right? So we've known each other for almost 20, but and I played with you, my family's, but so many of friends' families. And I remember the challenges. So I remember there being a day that you said to me, hey, do you know Pam Shriver? And I remember going, yeah, she goes to my kid's school, but I'm not best friends with her, but sure. Right. Tell me about how you came to that point, because you had all these challenges, and I remember how frustrated you were.
Well, Pam really, Pam and I are friends, just through tennis.
Totally.
we've worked together on within a few other organizations, boards that I'm on for, coaching organizations or, women's organizations. And, Pam actually helped me come up with this whole thing. I went to Pam really frustrated at a certain point, you know, kind of like I've had it. Like maybe I had just lost another court, it's like every time you have to go through this process, there's so much stress. And I really care about all these people and I really want everyone to be happy. And I think that, some things are just out of your control.
Exactly.
And when that happens, it displaces, so many people immediately.
Exactly.
And so I went to Pam and I said, look, I'd really like to get out of this. Like I need to get out of this situation. I need to do something a little bit different. Do you have any ideas for me? And she said, why don't you just scale this?
Mm,
Why don't you just, every day when I'm driving around the Palisades or around Brentwood, I see all these courts and they're just sitting open.
mm,
Nobody's using them. And, of course I noticed that too. I mean, I drive home every day and I see 4 courts every single day, the same ones. I've never seen a person on it. And I just go, oh, I wish they would, be open to helping their tennis community because they
mm.
have this court and it's just going to waste. They don't use it, but I know that maybe the kid that lives 3 doors down would love to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started really thinking about that, and her and I kind of went on this journey together originally of trying to figure out how to expand that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we tried a few different things. Ultimately, she let me take it with her blessing
Mm-hmm.
because she really just doesn't have the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you explain to people who Pam Shriver is? Because, sometimes we know, obviously but like sometimes there's younger audience, right?
right.
So,
So Pam is a tennis legend, first of all. She's a commentator for ESPN and the Tennis Channel. And she won multiple Grand Slams as a professional tennis player. And she's a wonderful role model for
wonderful.
many women, female athletes and women. She's also a mother of 3 kids and, a wonderful, pillar of our community.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's helpful for people to hear just so that they understand the context of the caliber of people that not only are your clients, but also that I'm not talking about Pam specifically. I'm talking about also that you're collaborating with. You're dealing with people that are of a certain level that have been in the tennis community forever.
So once this idea really came to fruition, we had the top people in the tennis industry, it's kind of like little light bulbs go off and go, oh, that is brilliant. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone's really behind this because I think the top people in the industry just want to see the community access and community spread happen. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that we're maxed out in terms of, country club memberships where people don't really want to join country clubs anymore. It's kind of an older population. This new like millennial generation with money, they make money, but that's not necessarily where they want to spend it. And they're more, I think today, like with the whole instant gratification and social media and all of that, they're more about doing something when they want to do it, where they want to do it, and then moving on with their day. And
Totally.
instead of like, I'm going to go and pay for this fancy country club membership, they're the anti country club
That I
generation.
never use, right?
Right. Exactly. They're like, why would I pay for that when I could do something like this? It's like class pass. You're going to try this, try that when you want.
So it's interesting because one of the things they always say about starting a business is if you can solve a problem, right? And here you were challenged, right? And you came up with a solution to help communities around the world, right? I mean, right now, where are you located right now?
I'm in LA.
no, I know you're located in LA, but the company is actually
LA. I mean, the headquarters is in LA, but we're all over the country, and then also in Australia. We've launched in Australia, and
okay. And
hopefully moving towards the UK next year.
So basically, you essentially the way that somebody accesses the opportunity to rent a court so that say walk me through the process.
Yeah, so you're gonna
in LA and I'm visiting, or if I'm in Australia and I'm visiting, I have my app downloaded, Swimply.
Yep.
And
so
then
download the Swimply app. You just
Mhm.
you can go to the map. On the map,
Uh-huh.
there's a little icon at the top that says racket in green. Next to that, there's a little icon that says paddle in blue.
Mhm.
And you can just click on that and search whatever area you want and see where there's courts available. Super
And
easy.
then what is the cost of renting a court? Like, and
So
can you rent it for more than an hour, or how does this work?
absolutely. So there's a couple different scenarios. So the homeowner actually chooses the price
Mhm.
because it is their space. Obviously, they choose with guidance from how they're actually going to make it work. A lot of times I'll say, hey, what do you want out of this? Like, are you interested in really just helping the community? Are you more interested in, making money? Are you interested in having a coach here? There's different scenarios for them that dictate that price. And they list their price. You decide if that's something you want to do. I'm making kind of other arrangements for coaches behind the scene and letting homeowners be able to leave their kind of community price on the app, because obviously coaches need to hit certain numbers so that it makes sense for them. So I am able to make adjustments for certain homeowners on price for those coaches. But for the most part, it's whatever, anywhere from $25 up to, some prime $100 an
Yeah.
hour courts in very prime locations.
Are the $100 hour courts, so wait, let me ask you a question. So when I'm downloading the app and I book, am I also booking a pro to come with
No,
it?
no,
So never booking a pro to come with it. Okay.
no. So we're strictly a connector for the court. So
Okay.
but you can come with, let's say you want to take your lesson there, it would be the coach that would probably book that court for
Got it.
you. So the
Got it.
coach would pay the court fee and the coach charges you whatever they want to charge you. But we don't have anything necessarily to do with that.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like a pretty simple process. And given that courts, particularly in any major city, are difficult to come by, and especially given the pickleball craze, I mean, what's the percentage increase for pickleball right now? It's probably insane.
I can't even tell you. It is skyrocket. I mean, obviously you've seen all the articles about pickleball, the number one sport in America. Pickleball, there's, I don't even know the numbers, but probably 6 times more people looking for courts than there are courts.
Wow.
And if you go down to the public parks and you see all those paddles lined up on the fence, I mean, people are waiting and you only get a certain amount of time to play. And then you have to go to the back of the line, this whole thing. I mean, it's just such a process. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's so frustrating. But with us, you can book your court. Let's say you want to book 2-3 hours, you book whatever you want. You show up when you book, it's just sitting there for you. So it's really, you might pay a little bit more, but you're paying for the convenience,
location and the
the
access.
location, the access, the timeliness, all of it.
So let's move into, like, you launched this business and you work with Pam Shriver on the concept and some of the major people in the tennis industry. And how does Swimply go about, like, suddenly contacting you? Like, did they find out what you were doing?
They did not. So funny story. I contacted them
Oh, this is
actually.
so you.
So I actually saw our CEO.
Tenacity. We go back to tenacity.
That's right. So I saw Bunham, the CEO of the company, on Shark Tank in 2019, I believe. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I love it. I love it. I said, love it. I said, that's so interesting. He's, trying to do this with pools. I'm like, what a great idea. I really want to follow this. So I just kind of followed that company a little bit, and a couple years went by, and I read, TechCrunch and all those things religiously. And I read on TechCrunch that, Swimply had just closed this big Series A round, with these big VCs that were also the investors from, Airbnb and these other companies. I said, oh, that's also pretty interesting. These big companies are really getting on board with this concept, because I kind of looked at it as very similar, even though obviously pools and courts are
It's
very
very similar.
similar, same concept,
Basically,
very
renting
different.
a swimming pool versus renting a court.
Right, right. So I said, oh, this is really interesting. And so I read that they had closed that round. I just went on LinkedIn, and I sent him a message, and I said, hey, I see what you guys are doing. I think it's really great. I had sent him a video that Pam and I had done together to talk about this concept. I said, I'm getting into this with tennis courts. At the time, pickleball wasn't a thing, but I said, I'm getting into this with tennis courts. Here's my concept. I think this can be really big. There's a huge need for this. And, I'm in LA, I see these empty courts just sitting there. I think maybe we can turn these and, get some homeowners on board to really helping the community with this concept. And he wrote me back, within a day, and we were on a Zoom within a week, and we were chatting. And, I think eventually the company was going to expand into what we're calling spaces. Anyways, I don't know if they would have been so gung-ho in this tennis world, because it's not something that they knew the ins and outs of, but he thought it was great. And he said, basically prove it, and so cut to now, I've spent the last year, quote, proving it. And
Exactly.
we're just about ready to become part of the real world.
That's amazing. I'm so excited because, as I was sharing with you, well, first of all, I just want to congratulate you. And I mean, we say the word tenacity with such simplicity, but really, like, I wonder if the competitor in you from being an athlete basically comes through in the business world. Like, there's this never want to give up, always find the solution to the problem, and move through with grace. Like, those are the things that I see about you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I just think that I definitely do think once that's in you, then that's becomes who you are. And I think that goal setting and being able to achieve those goals, there's not a lot of room to not reach those goals. And you kind of do what it takes to get there. I'm not saying that it hasn't been very frustrating, and there's been highs and lows, but ultimately I know that this is my legacy.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you say it that way. Like, you're very clear. Like, this is what you were meant to bring forward in the world, and that continued to drive you.
Definitely. I just, I see the problems with this. I see all of these kids. I mean, even right now for SBW, we have a wait list of 30, 40 people, and I can't accommodate them because I have no court to put them on. Coaches aren't the problem. Courts are the problem. I'd love to add 2 more hours on Saturday, but I'm strapped.
Exactly. Well, and it's not even manpower, like you said.
No.
It's courts. Yeah.
It's not clients. It's not coaches. It's courts.
Yeah. So it's interesting when you talk about the fact that you went direct to the source. So what do you think? I mean, when I'm saying, like, the founder of Swimply, and that you were following him, and I think it's interesting that even though you weren't in a tech business, you had interest in other areas of business, right? Obviously, I know you had originally thought about having an app and different things like that, but I'm sure there was interest there. So what do you think are, like, the key things that has made you successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a clear vision, number one. I think number two, just my experience in this industry. I think that it could work in any industry. You know, if you've done something for your entire life and you're at a point where there's nobody who knows it better than you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what does this industry need? And that could be like, it could be with anything. It's like, I've been doing this my entire life. Like, I can talk the talk, I can walk the walk, but I just truly understand it inside and out. And I
Yep.
think that's really worth something to,
Mhm.
you know, to bring more to the table. I think there's very few people, it's a small club of people that have been doing something for so long at such a high level, and
Value is expertise is value, you know?
expertise is value. And I think at a certain point, you have to make that value work for you.
Mhm. I like the fact that you're basically saying leverage your experience, because I think you know, there's different types of people, right? Like some people just keep reinventing themselves or adding more things to their arsenal or whatever it is. But I think that you love this industry.
I do.
And so this only, like, you know, you going back to like the beginning of our interview, you were trying to figure out a way to make money at it.
Right.
And so by solving this problem and not giving up, you basically were able to get to your goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now, you know, I'm doing a lot of speaking, you know, in front of a lot of coaches, you know, in different different what is
Industry.
it called, industry events. I'm being asked to talk to a lot of coaches, and I think just mentoring coaches now too in business and how to build their business, that it doesn't have to be so one dimensional. You know, there's, for the people who want it to be bigger, this opportunity through this app can make your business bigger, and you don't have to any longer put in the work that I put in. You know, I'm taking that whole process away, and hopefully as more and more homeowners catch on and realize the benefits to doing this and really helping their community, it's healthy, it's safe, it's, you know, it's so many things, and it's nothing really on them to allow others to use that space. I think that it helps so many different, you know, types of people. But for, you know, these coaches, they're seeing like these lights go on, like, oh, I actually can hire someone, and I actually can, you know, take on more clients.
Exactly.
Or, you know, I mean, I think it's just so beneficial in so many ways. And for others, you know, for someone like you, like, oh, look, there's a pickleball court 2 blocks away.
My
You
new pickleball racket.
exactly, like, I mean, you go, oh,
Woo!
this is amazing, I don't have to go down to the park anymore, you know. And it's, I mean, it helps everybody.
Yeah, and I think it's an important component that you talk about helping your community, giving back. And I
Yep.
think that's something that right now, like in our society, people are looking for ways to give back. And especially if you have a court available, uh, it's an easy way for you, easy, safe way for you to do something like that.
Even I think, you know, people do have concerns, you know, they're, oh, I can't believe I'm letting someone in my backyard, I like my privacy. But the truth is your court's just sitting there, and you don't, you might know they're there, you might not. But at the same time, these are people that are interested in one thing, they're interested in coming to play. They're
Mhm.
not interested in your backyard, they're not interested in your home, they're not interested in who you are. They want to play, and they want to play in a place that's easy and convenient for them. And I think that just realizing that, you know, a kid that lives a block away could take their lesson and ride their bike to that house, you
Mhm.
know, that's not really a disturbance to you,
Exactly.
you know, in your afternoon. Um, so I think that there's a lot to be said about, you know, look, we never thought 10, 15 years ago we'd get in the car with from the airport with a stranger. But we
Exactly.
all but we all do it. So,
Exactly.
but
So
so
true.
why not? So why not this? Why not let members of your community share a space that's not being used?
Exactly. Well, I like that message. And I mean, I just have one other question for you before I ask you my last question that I ask every guest. But it's like, what's the dream? Like, you basically just created this this experience for people? Because that's really what it is. It's a user experience, right? It's an app, and then you're creating an experience for them in person. But what's the dream like for Swimply courts? Like, what would you want to see?
I would love to see everyone's mindset open and more homeowners really be accepting of, this concept, because they really can make such a big difference just by in a very small way. The dream would be to change the mindset and to have access all over the world for all the courts that are sitting in people's backyards, to not have to drive, through town and see 4 courts that nobody's set foot on in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
To actually see those courts being used and being used in a healthy, safe, fun way.
I like that message. And what would you say to the woman who has an idea and say is a mother? Because I think you deal with a lot of mothers, but doesn't put that idea forward. What would your message be to her? Because you're a mother of 2 younger kids, by the way. You were doing a lot of this expansion during the fact that your children, when they were really young.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say, don't ever let anything hold you back. I think that if you have a dream, it's just go for it. Pretty simple. I mean, I think that it's hard to think about like, oh, it's going to be so hard, or, there's so much work. Do I really want to do this for the next 5 years? But the truth is if you just start, even in a small way, and you enjoy it, you have to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoy it, then it's just going to naturally grow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that's such a great message, is getting started, number one, but then also just, little steps make such a big difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my last question for you is, what are your top 5 core values?
Oh,
And how
Lord.
do you use them in your day-to-day experience?
Oh man, that's a hard one.
Well, you got this.
I think for me is loyalty is
We're talking
huge.
about your values right now. I've got this on recording.
Definitely loyalty, because I think it's very important for people to know that they can count on you. And that's been something that's been huge for me over the years. I think, what else? Oh, 5, really?
Yeah. I can list them for you if you want. But
Go ahead. Help me out.
I would say tenacity.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah.
Well, loyalty, integrity can go together. I would say community.
Yeah.
I would say what else? Connectivity, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Health and wellness.
Yeah.
Definitely one. Love.
Yeah, for sure. I think passion is the last one for me. You definitely have to follow your passions, and I definitely think that if there's something that you're passionate about, why not monetize it?
Absolutely. I love that you're giving that message, because some people give the message like, I don't know, should you intertwine your passion or your hobby with your work? And I think just like what you're explaining is that it, dependent on who you are, it can only drive you more. So
yeah, and then it doesn't feel as much like work. It's just, you're just building on something that you already love.
I love that. All right. Well, I thank you for your time today. And I think this is an amazing interview. And I just think you're a testament to really taking a dream and moving it forward. And, one could have actually saw you as, oh, she's just a tennis pro, but I never saw that. I always saw you as a business leader. You always ran your academy. You still do, because but when it was just you, before you had a team, yeah, as a business. And I think that's a part of the testament to who you are.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, I hope everyone gives this a shot, because I think it's going to change the way we all play.
I agree. Well, I can't wait to get on the court and have you beat me up.
Love it. I'll see you there.
Okay, and can you please give people your information where they could reach you, whether that be Instagram or should they be following at Swimply,
You
SWIMP?
can follow at Swimply. We're launching the social media in about 3 weeks. So you haven't seen it there yet, but definitely follow at Swimply and just swimply.com. Go on, make an account after you download the app. And if there's not a court in your area right now, join the wait list and we'll contact you as soon as there is one.
Perfect. And then should they follow SBW Tennis Academy too?
Sure. Follow SBW Tennis Academy. We're here in West Side of LA and we have great coaches and great courts.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shawna. And we are so lucky to have you today. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Michelle.